What's going on, HYLETE Nation? It's Thomas DeLauer, and it's time to talk about the stuff that's in your energy drinks that everyone says is bad. I'm talking specifically about taurine, the innocent little amino acid that everyone seems to think is this terrible, terrible thing. Let's get down to the science. So taurine is what is known as a conditional amino acid. What that means is it's non-essential. It isn't required from the diet. Our body can manufacture it. But by the name conditional, it implies that we really should be getting additional taurine from the diet because it is going to help us have our taurine levels at an optimal state. Now, where did this negative stigma surrounding taurine come from? Nobody really knows, but I can suspect that it probably came from people thinking that it comes from bull's urine. I used to hear that all the time. Taurine was bad because taurine sounds like Taurus, and then ine, of course, urine. People just assumed taurine came from Taurus urine. Not the case at all. Taurine is a simple amino acid. But what does it do within the body? It's actually the job of taurine to regulate fluid retention into the cell. So it's going to help a cell become more hydrated or dehydrated depending on what needs to happen in the body. The interesting thing is that taurine has the ability to direct and dictate where hydration goes. So for example, it can direct hydration to the heart muscle, to the skeletal muscle, all depending on what you're working on. So if you go into a full-blown sprint and you start taxing your heart, taurine can regulate fluid over to the heart to make sure that the cells are working properly. So remember, if we don't have the right kind of mineralization or the right kind of hydration happening at the cellular level when it should be happening, the cells aren't going to fire properly. We're not going to get the electrical response that we need to be able to perform at our best. This leads me to talk about another component of hydration, which is the kidneys, and why people seem to think that taurine is so bad. You see, taurine works directly with our kidneys to be able to regulate itself. So your kidneys can see if we have too much taurine, and it will excrete some. And it can also see if we don't have enough, and it will hold on to some. Now, that's pretty amazing, and it goes to show right then and there that we're not going to have too much taurine. It's water soluble. The other thing that taurine does that's really, really powerful is work with us in an antioxidant capacity. You see, when we have any kind of aerobic metabolism or any kind of cellular metabolism to begin with, we have a high amount of what are called oxidants that go around. You've probably heard of antioxidants. Well, oxidants are the opposite. They are what cause the problem. And in this case, we have two that we're talking about specifically. We're talking about hypochlorous, and we're also talking about hypobromus. Now, taurine comes along and it neutralizes these oxidants. It neutralizes them into taurine bromamine and taurine chloramine. And these are very, very easy to metabolize once they're neutralized. The body can then excrete them and we can go along our merry way. So not only does it help hydrate the cells, it also gets rid of some of the waste. Now, there was a study that shows the effectiveness of taurine when it comes down to energy production and fat metabolism, and this was pretty intriguing. This particular study was a randomized crossover design study that took a look at two groups of conditioned cyclists. Okay, one group they gave a placebo to, another group they gave 1.66 grams of taurine to. Then they had them complete 90 minutes of cycling at a 66% of their VO2 max capacity. Then, right after that, they had them perform a time trial. Well, they looked at two different things. They wanted to see the effect of taurine on stamina. And what they found was that taurine did not have any effect on stamina, but what taurine did have an effect on was fat metabolism. The taurine group oxidized 16% more fat than the control group, showing that taurine not only helps regulate the hydration and the electricity of a cell, but also regulates how a fat molecule or free fatty acid can get into the cell and essentially create more energy in a fat burning state. So there you have it, debunking taurine. No longer thinking that taurine is this terrible thing that's in energy drinks, when in reality, it's just an amino acid that's there to help you. As always, HYLETE Nation, make sure that you're keeping it locked in here on these videos, and if you have ideas for future videos, make sure you let us know.